If your interest lies in international politics, this is big. The case of Georges Abdallah has been a focal point of international debate for decades, drawing attention from activists, governments, and human rights organizations around the world. The story of Georges Abdallah is not just a legal saga, but a complex narrative that intertwines with the broader geopolitical landscape. Georges Abdallah's case is heating up once again, reigniting old controversies and sparking new discussions about justice, terrorism, and international relations. The renewed interest in his case has brought to light the intricate web of political, legal, and social factors that have kept him behind bars for so long. The U.S. Department of Justice is fiercely opposing the release of Georges Abdallah from a French prison. This opposition is not just a legal stance but a significant political statement, reflecting broader geopolitical concerns. The U.S. government's position underscores the delicate balance of international diplomacy and the ongoing struggle against terrorism. Abdallah, a former leader of the Lebanese Armed Revolutionary Brigade, has been behind bars since 1987 for his alleged role in the killings of a U.S. military attaché and an Israeli diplomat in Paris. These events were part of a turbulent period marked by numerous acts of violence and political unrest. The 1980s were a time of significant upheaval, and Abdallah's actions were seen as part of a larger pattern of militant activities. He's been eligible for parole since 1999, yet his freedom remains elusive. Why the opposition? The reasons are complex and multifaceted, involving not just his past actions, but also the potential implications of his release. The parole process itself has been a battleground, with various stakeholders presenting arguments for and against his release. The U.S. argues that Abdallah's release could destabilize the region, particularly amidst the ongoing tension between Israel and Lebanon. The Middle East remains a volatile area, and any action perceived as supporting terrorism could have far-reaching consequences. The geopolitical stakes are high, and the U.S. government is keenly aware of the potential ripple effects of Abdallah's release. They express concerns over potential public disorder if Abdallah returns to his hometown near the Lebanese-Syrian border. The fear is that his return could be seen as a victory for extremist groups, potentially inciting violence and unrest. The local dynamics in Lebanon are also a factor, with various factions potentially using Abdallah's release as a rallying point. Supporters see Abdallah as a political prisoner and a symbol of resistance against occupation. They argue that his continued imprisonment is unjust and politically motivated, a relic of Cold War-era politics. The narrative of Abdallah as a freedom fighter resonates with many, and his supporters are vocal in their demands for his release. His lawyer argues that he no longer poses any threat, emphasizing that the Revolutionary Brigade has been inactive since 1984. They claim that Abdallah has served his time and should be allowed to reintegrate into society. The legal arguments are bolstered by testimonies and evidence suggesting that Abdallah has reformed and poses no danger to the public. With protests and calls for his release mounting, all eyes are on the upcoming court decision. The case has become a rallying point for various activist groups who see it as a test of justice and human rights. The public demonstrations are a testament to the strong emotions and high stakes involved in this case. Will Georges Abdallah finally walk free? Stay tuned. The decision could have significant implications not just for Abdallah and his supporters, but for international relations and the ongoing struggle between different political ideologies. The outcome of this case will be closely watched by many, as it could set a precedent for how similar cases are handled in the future. The broader implications of Abdallah's case extend beyond the immediate legal and political ramifications. It touches on themes of justice, human rights, and the long shadow of historical conflicts. The international community remains divided, with some advocating for his release as a gesture of reconciliation, while others warn of the dangers of setting a precedent that could embolden extremist groups. As the court date approaches, the tension is palpable. Both sides are preparing their final arguments, and the media coverage is intensifying. The courtroom will be a stage for a dramatic showdown, with the world watching closely. The legal teams are gearing up for a battle that will be as much about public perception as it is about legal principles. The U.S. Department of Justice remains steadfast in its opposition, citing national security concerns and the potential for Abdallah's release to be perceived as a weakening of the global stance against terrorism. The DOJ's position is clear. They believe that releasing Abdallah would send the wrong message at a time when the fight against terrorism is as critical as ever. Abdallah's past actions are a significant part of the narrative, but so too are the changes that have occurred since his imprisonment. The world has changed dramatically since the 1980s, and the context in which Abdallah's actions took place is vastly different from today's geopolitical landscape. This historical perspective is crucial in understanding the complexities of his case. The parole hearings have been a focal point of contention, with each session bringing new arguments and counter-arguments. The parole board faces a difficult decision, balancing the legal criteria for release with the broader implications of their decision. The hearings are a microcosm of the larger debate, encapsulating the tensions and stakes involved. The regional dynamics in the Middle East add another layer of complexity to the case. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Lebanon, the influence of various militant groups, and the broader geopolitical tensions all play a role in shaping the narrative around Abdallah's potential release. The U.S. government's stance is influenced by these factors as they navigate the delicate balance of international relations. The local impact of Abdallah's release cannot be underestimated. His return to his hometown could have significant repercussions, both positive and negative. The local community is divided, with some seeing him as a hero and others fearing the potential for renewed violence. The security forces in Lebanon are on high alert, preparing for any eventuality. The protests in support of Abdallah are growing in size and intensity. Activist groups from around the world are joining forces, using social media and other platforms to amplify their message. The rallies are a powerful demonstration of the global support for Abdallah, but they also highlight the deep divisions and strong emotions that his case evokes. Abdallah's legal team is working tirelessly to secure his release. They are presenting new evidence, calling on expert witnesses and making a compelling case for his rehabilitation. The legal battle is fierce, with both sides bringing their best arguments to the table. The outcome is uncertain, but the stakes are incredibly high. As the court date draws nearer, the protests are expected to intensify. The demonstrators are determined to make their voices heard, and the authorities are preparing for potential clashes. The court building has become a symbol of the larger struggle for justice and human rights, and the upcoming decision will be a pivotal moment in this ongoing saga. Will Georges Abdallah finally walk free? Stay tuned. The decision could have significant implications not just for Abdallah and his supporters, but for international relations and the ongoing struggle between different political ideologies. The outcome of this case will be closely watched by many, as it could set a precedent for how similar cases are handled in the future. The world waits with bated breath, as the fate of Georges Abdallah hangs in the balance.